Standing by. Yes, ladies and
Hi,
gentlemen.
everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, the 22nd of December. And the Joe and Joe Show is brought to you by, as it is every night, by Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest provider of rock salt on Long Island. And all your winter weather supplies, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, just north of the Southern State Parkway, and there's some of the rock salt. They've got tons and tons and tons of rock salt. So, with all the melting in the day, refreezing at night, you're going to need it. And when the next winter storm comes, you're going to need more. So, make sure you head down to Omni True Value Hardware for any snow melting products, along with shovels and other hardware that you may find necessary. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. Well, Mr. Rayo,
Yes, hi.
hi.
Hold on for a second. I was just calling for rock salt, that's all. And of course, I got to
Oh,
come on. Yes. Can I
please
call you back?
do.
Let me call you back in about 45 minutes or so. All right? Thank you. Make sure you put that order for me, right? Bye.
Nice.
Thank
All
you, Ben.
right.
There you go.
Very nice indeed.
Is there a general rule, someone asked me today, about the amount of snow an inch of rain will erase? And I answered back that I don't know of any specific rule of how much snow will be erased by an inch of rain, but the thing that gets rid of snow the fastest is
Fog.
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 The
Yes.
snow
The
eater.
snow eater.
Yes.
Absolutely. But we still have we have snow cover left here. I don't know how much is going to be left after Thursday with the big rain and the screaming south wind.
Well, that's it. The screaming south wind is going to bring temperatures into the 50s, and that 50 plus degree temperature over a blanket of cold snow is likely to cause some form of fog, I think.
You would think
And that
so.
plus the rain Thursday night, I don't think there's going to be, well, there'll probably still be some snow, but not a whole heck of a lot of snow come Christmas morning. So sorry about that, Bing.
Have you looked to see how fast the cold air gets in? Because a few people were asking about flash freezes. I don't know. It doesn't, to me. I guess the timing is a little odd because of the rain ending uh, probably after midnight sometime and before daybreak. I don't know if there's going to be. I don't know if the temperatures are going to drop below. I don't think the temperatures are going to drop below freezing until later on in the day, or maybe not until evening.
I heard one forecaster on over the weekend make reference to there could be a flash freeze, but I was not, as you just mentioned, I wasn't overly impressed by the push of cold air coming in. I really don't think we're going to see a tremendous or rapid drop in temperature. Certainly, it'd be colder on Friday as opposed to Thursday, but not really what I would call a flash freeze because the winds, Joe. Even after the front moves by, I think the upper level winds are still going to be coming out of a southwesterly direction. For a flash freeze, you'd want the front to move on through, and everything at all levels go straight to north or northwest. And I don't think that's going to happen, at least early Friday. So
All right. So, winds advisory criteria on both sides. You think?
I think because as what we talked about yesterday or last night, the V, if you will, with the actual frontal passage,
Right.
I think what we're going to see is probably very strong, gusty, shifting winds. Now, I don't know how, the specific criteria for a wind advisory, when whether or not it has to be a specific number of hours that we have wind advisory conditions. Because I honestly think that much of the day on Thursday, we're not going to really see all that much in terms of strong gusty winds. I think the
It'll
wind,
probably come in the evening and at night as the front gets
right,
close, and
right, all the actions at night.
they're also probably at least along the coastal plain anyway. I think there might be the odd shower that could pop up, but other than that, I think the daytime Thursday may wind up being rain free for a lot of folks.
Yeah, just a spotty shower or two here and there.
You wonder
But
whether the sun might poke its head out.
if it does, we'll be probably shooting for 60 on Thursday. If that,
I think I'm thinking South Jersey, Southern Pennsylvania, southward. We'll get into the 60s with this, and of course, the folks at SPC who watch this show religiously and must have heard our suggestion that they put up uh, some sort of risk area for tomorrow. Well, I mean, for Thursday. Uh, well, they heeded our advice, Mr. Ray. I just want you to know that. Actually, SPC for tomorrow has a marginal risk of severe weather from East Texas across Louisiana into Alabama and Mississippi. For today, they actually have no thunderstorms forecast anywhere in the U.S. And I'm bringing up the map now for Thursday, and you don't see this too often in December, even down in the Carolinas. You got two areas here to look at, and one is the uh, slight risk in coastal North and a small portion of the northeastern corner of South Carolina. Marginal risk, the green line touching southern New Jersey on one side, and the Maryland, I'm sorry, and the excuse me, South Carolina Georgia border on the other. Also, a small area of marginal risk in the Florida Panhandle, southwest Georgia, southeast Alabama. And then, of course, after that, SBC can take a break for Christmas Day, I think.
I would hope so. I mean, that's, if we see a thunderstorm here locally, come Thursday or Thursday night, more likely Thursday night or early Friday morning. That'll be the first time since the Donner and Blitzen snowstorm of 1966, which was accompanied by thunder and lightning here in the New York metropolitan area. All those years since, I don't remember ever seeing
No.
or experiencing thunder and lightning on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
50 likes so far. And we thank you, those of you who have hit the like button. If you haven't done it yet, hit the like button. Get us over 100. That's the daily goal. We'd like to get at least 100 likes on every show. And also an early super chat hit from Mr. David Fuller, who is a regular watcher of this program. David, thank you very much for hitting super chat. Hey, we got the watches and warnings map up, Joe, and I'm seeing a few interesting things. Notably, the area that got the 20 to 40 inches of snow from northeastern Pennsylvania on up into south central New York State, and then going east toward I don't know what you would call that. Is that southern New York or the Hudson, the middle and upper Hudson Valley, all under flash flood watches, which is not a shocker that they did that again with all that deep snow cover and 50s going all the way up to Plattsburgh and heavy rain on the order of a couple of inches. There's going to be some flash flooding potential here. William Huber Bill hitting super chat tonight. Merry Christmas to you too, and to everybody on the board. By the way, I know we're a couple of days early, but just want to give you that early expression of merriment. We have winter storm warnings up for a good chunk of the state of Minnesota. We have various winter storm watches and winter weather advisories surrounding it, and also in a fabulous color of orange in the westernmost counties of Minnesota and then the eastern counties of North and South Dakota. The Big B, the blizzard warning, is up there. Also, we've got a number of states here under high wind warnings. I think that's the color for a high wind warning. That golden yellow, checking. Yes, high wind warning up from eastern Colorado, western Nebraska, northward up to North Dakota and into Montana. Winter storm watches up in parts of Northern California. So busy there. The map looking a little busy. We don't want to forget our friends in Alaska either, where we have winter storm warnings up. I don't know. I never really mentioned the geography, Alaska too much. But Alfred Phillips is on the board tonight, so I'm doing it for him. But it's the coast facing the Bering Sea, about halfway up. I guess we could call that where that nose of Alaska that kind of sticks out. That's on a winter storm warning, and just inland of that, we've got watches up.
Right,
So
right.
a bit of storminess in what is very going to be a very active pattern. Chuck Cardillo hitting super chat. Also, thank you, Chuck. Merry Christmas to you and to your family. Thanks for me. Chuck leaves me a message every morning on my subscription platform on Patreon. But you mentioned last night, Joe. We were talking about this pattern going forward over the next couple of weeks. It really does look busy.
It does. It looks like we're going to be seeing weather systems, storm systems, like almost on a conveyor belt after we get this front to pass on through Thursday night. Yeah, it looks like one after another, after another, after another. Basically, every 2 to 3 days. It's almost like a hockey game, a 5-on-4 right now. And
Yeah,
we're the goalie right now, and we're getting ready to try to kick away as many pucks as we possibly can.
and the outlook gets increasingly blurry as we go forward in time, as we go into next week and beyond, because of the fact that we have this, um, this blocky pattern that has been with us since pretty much the beginning of the month, and it's already borne some snow fruit here in the Northeast. Obviously, our snowstorm, and then the week before the snow that occurred up in New England. And Joe, I'm still going to hold by the. I'm going to stick to my guns here. That I think in this pattern, you have to be very alert to the possibility of something setting up, and I think we're going to have an opportunity another opportunity in the next couple of weeks. I'm not 100% sure how it's all going to play out, but the puzzle pieces to me are there, and it wouldn't shock me if we wind up seeing something between now and say the first week of well, not so much into early next week, but after that, going into the new year and in the days that follow, would not shock me at all if we wind up seeing another snow threat of some kind.
Well, and this looks like the kind of a winter where you can't look, much beyond 3 or 4 days to make a declaration. Let's say in about a week or 10 days, we're most definitely going to get set up for a major storm. This looks like one of those winters where something is going to suddenly evolve right before our eyes within a 3 or 4 day period, and when it does evolve, it's going to evolve very rapidly.
Oh, I
You'll feel
agree.
like
Well, that's just what we just went through that with the storm from last week. I mean that was very blurry up until about 5 days before.
right.
But I mean, we knew that the pattern was set up for something somewhere, but we couldn't figure it out until it became evident that we were going to have that 50-50 low, and to some extent we may see that again. I wrote about it this morning, the remarkable similarity between what we have now, what we have for later next week setting up. Looks very similar to what we just went through. There are some notable differences, but there's a lot more that looks the same than looks different. And just to run through the today's teleconnections, we're seeing the Pacific North America Index, which is positive, pretty much staying positive right into early January now. That measures pressure changes both in over North America and out in the Pacific, hence the Pacific North America pattern. And when it's positive, it usually means that we have a trough in the east and a ridge in the west, and a trough down at 106 out at 160 west along the longitude of Hawaii. So with P&A being positive is telling us that, well, under certain conditions, it could get a little dicey in the eastern U.S. In many different ways, by the way. It doesn't have to be snow. It could be like we're having now with the system for Thursday. Joe, the AO, the Arctic oscillation, continues to astound me here in this sort of stair step decline that it's been on since December 1st, going uh, right after Christmas and going into the new year. It's going to be off the wall negative. And I'll say it again. I said it last night. I'll say it again. When you've got teleconnections that are running several or more standard deviations from the mean, the atmosphere has got a big headache someplace, and it's going to let it go. We're just not sure where.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's got to go somewhere, and yeah, as I said last night, it's the diametric opposite of what we were seeing at this time last year with an extremely positive Arctic oscillation. Now it's just the other way around. So all of you folks who want some activity, it looks like in the coming days and weeks, we're probably going to see it.
And the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, higher pressures in the North Atlantic up toward Greenland and Scandinavia, and areas going up toward the Arctic regions. Also, we're kind of sitting in the neutral zone right now for a few days, and then it goes negative again. And some of the member models on the GFS ensemble forecast from last night, from overnight, taking it sharply negative around the second January 1st to January 4th. I would look. That's probably the window, Joe, for something to happen because uh, of the steep negative readings that we're getting, both on the NAO and the AO. They're in that zone from January. The steepness of both of them being so strongly negative is in that date window of about January 1st to the 4th or so. Maybe if you want to stretch it a little bit, you could say December 31st to January 4th, somewhere in that 5-day window.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe. If that may be what you're seeing looking at the maps right now, but the folks at Climate Prediction Center, they usually have well, they do a daily map risk of hazardous conditions for in terms of temperature and or probabilistic conditions for temperature, precip, snow, and wind. And I have to tell you that from December 30th through the 5th of January, in all four categories, temperature, precip, snow, and wind, nothing from
Well,
coast to coast.
you know what the cynics in me says about that, right?
Well,
Put the
they can
watch
always
up. Put the watch up now.
yeah, yeah.
Listen, it wouldn't be the first time. I'm not trying to disparage them, but any forecaster that does this for a living will tell you that uh, there are humbling experiences along the way in one's career, and I'm sure that many they can reach back and talk about times where they didn't see anything in the longer term, and voila, it's there. And the reverse is true also, where you look like you're having all these signals pointing to something, and you do wind up with nothing. It's all part of the plot, Mr. Rayo. All part of the plot.
Yes, yes. It's a conspiracy.
Yes. So I got the U.S. satellite loop up. Nice looking view tonight. Let me center it a bit better here for
And
everybody.
just to emphasize what I said a few minutes ago, on top of what we were just talking about with the Climate Prediction Center not seeing anything through January 5th. Again, this if it sets up like last week's storm, then something significant won't materialize and won't become evident to us for 3 or 4 days beforehand. So how are we going to possibly be able to say anything for, let's say, January 1st or 3rd or 5th this far out?
Right.
Again,
I just think with the blocky pattern, these teleconnections, giving us these off the wall negative readings. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean it could be in the east. By the way, I mean, this could wind up producing some kind of big ocean storm somewhere. I'm not sure. And we're going to spend the next week or so trying to decipher what the code is telling us as far as the weather models are concerned for the longer term. But first things first, let's talk about Thursday's storm. And the energy from that is already pouring into the Rockies and Northern Plains. You can see the clouds that are streaming eastward from there. We had a little disturbance move offshore this morning here with a couple of rain showers and maybe even a snow shower or two in a couple of spots. But of course, that system now long gone. But it really is this busy March. And I pulled up the Canadian satellite loop so you can see it from that vantage point. The Pacific just continues to bring systems in, and that's one interesting thing about all of this is that this is coupled with this moderate to strong La Nina, and so one of I think it's revved up the southern. It's responsible for this very active southern part of the jet stream that we have. Uh, we've already seen that what one storm from last week did, and the one from the week before. Uh, there may be a couple of powerhouses in that conveyor belt down there coming eastward for the longer term.
Yeah, well, as I said last night, if you have that many systems, and again, the last count, at least four, how many times you go to the well before you finally get one that really hits, and it could very well be any one of those four could intensify in a way that or a manner that we don't see right now.
Right.
So it, it's it's going to be interesting to watch. This certainly already compared to last year. I remember last year at this time we were just lamenting the fact that we had a positive AO, that the overall
That would
pattern,
never go away.
it never did go away, and it didn't really look like we were going to have any kind of real action going on. But now, it's a whole different ball game, a whole completely different script as opposed to just 1 year ago.
Now, if anybody from the Weather Service is watching this, can you please bring back the GIF or the GIF? I never know how to say that. Images back, because I am not really happy with this radar. I don't know about you, but
I
this new radar thing is just I was playing around with the background and the colors to see what looks good, and you know what? I've yet to find a match that looks good to me.
No,
But you can
I don't like it either.
Yeah, I mean, you see the
It,
radar echoes tonight, confined to the mountains of Wyoming and Colorado, and also seeing some activity up in northern Michigan. A little bit of activity also back through Montana. Otherwise, the rest of the country looks pretty quiet at the moment.
it's too
Yeah,
bad they don't have. I wonder if they have something like, how many of you out there, have run across this, that there's some person who has allowed you to go back to the old Facebook format.
well, see,
The
the
try
problem
to,
is
and I wonder if there's somewhere out there, if there's a way we can go back to the old radar.
I
For
wish I have I have all the URLs for the old GIF images, and they just basically got rid of those pages. Now, my suspicion is they ran. We had that story in the Washington Post last week about how the Weather Service is trying to save bandwidth. They've got so many products that it's eaten up whatever they have budgeted for bandwidth. And anyway, by getting rid of all those GIF images, it frees up a lot it probably freed up a lot of bandwidth for them. So that's my guess as to why we've gone this way. 99 likes, like 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Could
I
we
just
have?
did 100 on mine.
Oh, you did. Okay, good.
The
All
100
right,
on mine.
all right, very good. So we got
Reaver,
our 100. I was just going to say, to just could somebody like put one more bottle of beer on the wall and get us to 100? It would be terrific. And we've got 225 folks on. A nice crowd here on a Tuesday night.
Reaver 501 on the chat board says, Bill Goodman, please fix the radar. Reaver 501, I don't think Bill has the power to do that. In fact, quite frankly, I don't even think Louis Ussolini, who's the head of the NWS, or the head of NOAA, has the ability to change back to the GIF. I mean, we're stuck with this graphic now. I'm sorry to say.
I am going to, I've been digging around to some other sites with people that I have relationships with, and a few of them have graciously said we could use theirs. I just need a little bit of time to kind of organize it all. So I will get to that, I promise. Uh, so anyway, WPC's rainfall forecast map for the next 7 days. Now we have two rain events in this sequence that you see here on the map, because this takes us to next Tuesday night, and we are going to have another weather system on Monday with another cold front, another round of downpours, and there'll be snow with this low on the northwest side of the track. But a lot of moisture here, and we're talking 2 to 3 inches. So let's say 2/3 of this is going to come from from Thursday night's frontal passage. So we're talking up to a couple of inches of rain in some areas in northern Pennsylvania to into New England, and that justifies, in my view, with the snow with the deep snow cover, the reason for the flash flood watches that are up there. And you're seeing significant rains going down into the southeastern part of the U.S. on the order of an inch to an inch and a half. The West Coast also, by the way, from Southern California all the way up the coast, showing rainfall amounts of up to an inch or an inch and a half over the next 7 days, and heavier amounts in the mountains there, where we have those winter storm watches up in the Sierra Nevadas. So busy, 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 busy. So we did the teleconnections, and we know what we're looking for, or the status of the whole overall pattern. So let's first off take a look at what we're seeing for Thursday. I'm going to go to the GFS here, and some folks, by the way, I just want to mention, some folks, how come we use the GFS more than any of the other models that are available? And the reason is because it has the most maps available for us to show. I mean, we do show the European and other models. And are also time constraints on a daily basis too, as far as how much time we have. Otherwise, we need a 4-hour show to go ahead and show everything. But I just, I try to remember to show at least a couple of different models every time so you can get a view, particularly when we've got something important going on. But here's our deep trough, and the trough. This kind of changed a little bit in terms of the character and how it's behaving, Joe, on this run. It starts off the upper trough. It's looking like it was going to be this really deep, sharp V, but now it forms this deep cutoff low that drops down into Ohio and western Pennsylvania and then moves on eastward and then lifts up. There's no blocking this time around, which is the reason why we have this strong southerly flow that set up the eastern seaboard. But this deep trough is certainly going to be enough to produce some big thunderstorms.
I fully agree on that. And a significant baroclinic zone, certainly. You've got temperatures ahead of the approaching front in the 50s, and then behind it, again, not a sharp transition, but eventually, I could see 40s on Friday, Joe. I think the weekend we're going to be stuck in the 30s again. So, again, maybe not a flash freeze, but
Saturday may only be upper 20s and low 30s.
Yeah, and this system is certainly loaded for bear, so to speak, and we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it. I think especially after midnight, Thursday night and early Friday morning. In fact, some of the models I was looking at the RPM model. It suggests a very significant squall line for us along about 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yes.
On Christmas morning.
Now here's a question: Friday afternoon and into early evening, there's the upper trough is approaching the coast, and it's very sharp. I wonder whether there might be maybe a little line of snow showers with that when it goes by,
Maybe even a snow squall or two.
Or a squall.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to look at that a bit more carefully as we get closer to Thursday and Thursday night.
See, now they're for the people who are the people who are traditionalists and are looking for snow in the air on Christmas Day. They're probably looking at the potential for maybe the leftover showers on Friday morning, changing over before ending to maybe some flakes of wet snow. But you bring up a good point with that sharp trough coming in later in the day. Who's to say that we might see a round of snow showers or maybe even a squall or two. It was about a year ago, a little over a year ago. I think last Friday or Saturday was the anniversary of that giant snow squall line that passed through New York City. Yeah, now that wouldn't be too bad.
That was the most exciting thing that happened all winter.
Yeah, exactly.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
Now that trough lifts out, and we calm down, of course, as we get into Sunday. But already the next energy, the next short wave this time only in the northern stream. There's not much of a southern stream feature here. It rolls along. It does something really odd though, and I noticed the Canadian did something really strange today. But this trough, instead of lifting out, actually drops southeastward and forms a cutoff over southern New England and offshore come Tuesday, which I thought was sort of odd because you don't really see that. But the reason why it's doing this is because of the fact that the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, is so negative. There's a ridge out in the Atlantic, and it's ebbing and flowing, but on the whole, it's going to be strengthening, and it's basically slowing things down as far as these systems. And of course, as we go further out in time and we go through next week, you see a powerhouse coming into California here and running across the southern stream. Now, here's where it gets dicey in terms of how these models are handling it, because you have, as we've been saying about the overall pattern, you've got this split flow, and here's this northern energy that's up in northern Minnesota. You got the southern part of the jet driving along. Now, these two systems are going to miss each other. You're not going to get a phase from this, but um, the northern part, and this is, I pointed this out this morning in the piece I wrote. The You got the system for Monday and Tuesday is very important, extremely important, because it sets the table up for the system that follows. We're going to see if we're going to wind up with some kind of troughing in the area around Newfoundland. So it won't exactly be a 50-50 low, but there will be lower pressures there, and that could create a more favorable scenario for snow in the Northeast and Northern Mid Atlantic come next weekend, New Year's weekend, and you can see that the GFS on this run does have that southern stream system coming out. It's got a kind of a sheared look to it, but it does bring out energy along about the second or third. I would suggest that you're going to continue to see the models grapple with this in different ways for at least the next 4 days. So you're going to have all sorts of different solutions. I will predict that there'll be at least one run of the GFS between now and say and Saturday. There'll be at least one run of the GFS that will get you really excited uh, regarding the possibility of another snowstorm, and then there'll be the next the run right after that will take it away. So just be prepared for some emotional roller coaster riding with these models because of how complex this pattern is.
And yeah, and again, you bring up a good point because
I'm
it's
full of
like,
good points tonight.
I mean, the fact is what we saw with the last snowstorm, again, heavily reliant on that minor event that happened 2 days earlier, and that system, some of the longer range forecasts were taking that system, that first system, and building it into a massive. I mean, like I know the GFS at one point had like a 950 low over Newfoundland, and that never
Right.
did transpire, which is why the ensembles were pushing that storm more to the south, and that never happened because that you see, and it all everything is connected,
Sure.
and especially when they
Especially
especially when they're so closely spaced together.
and especially when you have multiple jets with a million shortwaves running around.
Right.
Now, take a look at this five. I brought up the upper air. This is for Sunday, January 3rd. Now, you take a look at this, and it's a situation pregnant with possibilities, because you have actually here in this case you have a fifth, almost have a fifth, you have a 50-50 low to a certain extent. It's not as deep as what we saw with the snowstorm, but it's there. We also have a big blocking high sitting over southern Greenland and extending into northern Labrador. You've got this confluence zone that runs across the Great Lakes into New England, and that's going to feed down some cold air. And here's your southern shortwave that's coming in. And assuming it looks like this, it's probably going to change some more. But as I said earlier, with these puzzle pieces there on the table, all it will take is for something to be a little slower, a little deeper, and you're gonna have a storm somewhere. So the upper air is certainly suggestive that something could happen around that time frame that we pointed out, Joe. That the December 31st to January 4th or so, somewhere in that 5 day window.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. According to Dr. Chiappi, Ms. Nature just might be, and he's keeping an eye on the rabbit.
Yes. And notice, by the way, all through that period from day 10 and 11 right through day 16. I mean, this is just an incredibly blocky look that we're going to have. So
Can they get a deeper shade of fuchsia for that ridge over Greenland?
I know this is a very we haven't seen this in years.
Yeah.
We really the last. I guess maybe if you want to use the back in March of 18 with the four nor'easters, um, was probably the last time that we had a blocky pattern that lasted more than a couple of days. That one lasted about 2.5 weeks, and this one is going on um, by the end of the month, at the beginning of January. Now we're going into the fifth week of this particular setup. So
Can I also, I don't want to offend anybody on the chat board. We all love you. We all thank you for supporting Joe and Joe and what we do here. But can I make a general rule? Please don't bring up the winter storm names that the Weather Channel assigns these things.
yes, it's
Okay, Crystal Spear says Winter Storm Harold, and it's just 24 hours into winter. Please, don't use those names. I can't deal with those names.
no, I know. I have a tough time with it. I refuse. I just that's a marketing gimmick on their part. They want to do it. That's fine with them. It gets them clicks. It makes them some money. But that's their thing.
No,
And I'm not doing it, and I'm not adding to it.
Tim Veltman just said, "What is a Harold? That doesn't compute around here." Thank you so much, Timothy. And I mean, it's not that it's the Weather Channel, for God's sake. It's the Weather Channel, and yet you have regular broadcast TV stations using those names. And don't they realize they're just building they're using
They're building their brand. Yeah, I mean that's
yeah,
just ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You're building their brand, and if you're going to build their brand, you should get paid for it. But you're not. So why
exactly.
would you do that? I don't. I guess I don't know. I really wish. I never mind.
But I have to say this. I do have to say this. Back in the 80s, I was working for a private weather company, and one of our
Joe, while
clients
you tell your story, I have to run upstairs and get a tissue because I'm
was dripping.
no, I'm not driven. Just get sometimes when I'm down in the basement, there's something here that I starts to bother me, and I get nasally. So I just want to grab some tissue. So if you
Okay.
will excuse me for just one moment, you carry on. I've left. I'm going to while you're speaking, I will loop the GFS to run on a loop
Okay.
from the actually I'll put the 18Z run because that brought a chance for snow back in to the Mid-Atlantic states. So while that's running on the screen, you go ahead and carry on. Carry
Oh,
on.
all right. Well, as I was just saying, back in the 80s, I was working for a private weather forecasting company, and one of our clients was the Department of Sanitation in New York. They were, of course, responsible for clearing the streets in the aftermath of snowstorms. They used a numerical system. They said storm number one, storm number two, blah blah blah, and I came up with the idea. Why don't we have a little fun? And so we ended up naming the storms, or at least the sanitation department named their storms as opposed to just giving them numbers. And I decided to make it fun. We named the storms after uh, characters from the Honeymooners. The first storm on the list, A,
I'm back.
that was Storm Alice. Hi.
Hi.
Um, we had Storm Alice, we had Storm Norton, Trixie, Ralph, and it got publicity. Vito Turso at that time was the public relations guy for the sanitation department, and he must have gotten a news release out. The Daily News did on page 3, Joe, a big story about uh, this naming system, and in fact, you saw a picture of Norton and Ralph and Alice, and the headline read, "Hey Alice, don't give us don't be a problem." It was fun, and it was great. That got a tremendous amount of publicity. In that case, it was confined to the sanitation department. We weren't.
That was their thing.
That was their thing. That blew everything out of the thing. But I mean, the naming, the terminology by the Weather Channel. I mean, everybody's picking it up left and right. And I know that the NOAA and the National Weather Service are not on board with
They're
this.
not thrilled.
So
All right, back to the map. Let's talk about Thursday. Well, let's talk about tomorrow and Thursday for other areas of the country that are going to be dealing with this, the beginnings of this low. So we'll just casually roll it back to, there we go. So for tonight, so we're already starting with the snow breaking out in Wyoming and Montana. You can see there's a 991 low in central South Dakota. And of course, no surprise, there's a blizzard warning where you've got a million isobars there. And those isobars are incredibly tight, Joe. They're gonna blow away like 40 to 50 out of this from the north
Yep.
when the low goes by, and then the low lifts up toward northern Wisconsin. The GFS actually paints an interesting picture of that dark blue, moderate to heavy snow from about Minneapolis over to Duluth. And then, of course, the low runs up to the Great Lakes and into toward James Bay, and then the front is left hanging behind. You see that convection that develops Wednesday night and Thursday. The southern part of this really doesn't get busy until later Wednesday into Wednesday night down into the Gulf states, and then, of course, it really fires up in a big way on Thursday. And I don't know, Joe, the gradient starts to get tight here Thursday afternoon, but particularly Thursday night. And yeah, the front's not going to come through until probably sometime around, I don't know, 3 or 4 a.m. There is snow, it changes to snow up and down the Appalachians in a narrow band, but that should all dry out before it gets here. And then we still have the wind to deal with on Friday on the backside. And even into Saturday, it'll still be pretty breezy, and then it should settle down a bit on Sunday. But now here comes the next low with that low in northeastern Missouri, not nearly as nowhere near as strong as this one is. Runs up into southern Canada, and then it just kind of drops down into the Gulf of Maine. I don't know if you saw this, but take a look at. I'm going to bring up the Canadian today because it was just so weird. The Canadian uh, takes that low across Lake Huron, and then it comes to a dead stop. And then after that, it redevelops the low southeast of Atlantic City, and we've got rain along the coast. It actually has some snow in upstate New York and in a good chunk of Pennsylvania. And it actually changes it over to snow over New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, down into eastern Virginia. There's a 1,008 low southeast of Montauk Tuesday morning. It's just really weird because you don't see this too often. A primary that goes well to the left into the lower lakes and then just weakens and redevelops. And I think the reason why the Canadian is doing this is because it sees this strong negative NAO, probably stronger on the Canadian model than it is on the others, and it forces, the low can't go anymore to the northeast. It's kind of blocked, so it's got to redevelop to a path of least resistance, and that seems to be off the coast of east of New Jersey, south of Long Island. And then it just kind of sits there and rotates and actually drops southeastward down toward Bermuda and goes down to almost 30 degrees north, for God's sake. It just looks so ridiculous.
I know. I know. The Canadian does weird things sometimes, contrary to what the other models do. It seems to be on its own, on its own plane. I sometimes wonder, and I've actually visited in Nova Scotia when I was in Halifax some years ago, more than some years ago now. It was over 20 years ago. Um, Environment Canada office, and and let me tell you, even though they have their own computer model, the Canadian GEM and regional, they still look at ours, and they look at the European just as much as we do. And I wonder how much faith they have on with
Well,
their
they did
own.
an upgrade on the Canadian back a number of months ago,
Yeah,
but I haven't really spent a whole lot of time. Um, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time looking at it. Usually in storms, I'll pay attention to it. And I've always said that Canadians like broken clocks are right twice a day, and every once in a while it does hit a home run. I'm just looking at what it's doing with this thing for early next week, and the reason why it drops the upper low is because it has a super strong ridge out to the northeast of it, so it can't really go into that. So it winds up just dropping it southeastward because that's the only place left open for it to go. So it does seem a bit ridiculous to me that is going to happen. I just want to compare it a little bit to the GFS.
yeah, but don't forget what last week when we were looking at this front for Thursday, that the Canadian came up with its own modeling of some kind of a shortwave, or not a shortwave, but some sort of a cyclonic system
Right.
on the bottom end of that. On the
And
bottom
then,
end,
yeah, that didn't happen either.
yeah,
Yeah. The GFS has a little bit more of a reasonable solution, though. It does drop this cutoff over Long Island and southeastern New England. Then it just lifts it up to the northeast as another short wave that swings around in the northern stream, just kind of kicks it up, and then you have this setup for New Year's weekend, well, the second and third anyway, where you have lower pressures over Newfoundland, and you've got this southern shortwave that's coming, but that southern shortwave gets sheared. The European is probably, I think, if I remember correctly, the European solution was a little different on this run. Last night it kind of went gangbusters on its long range. The European actually drops that cutoff over Nova Scotia and takes it southeast from there, and then it takes that system in the southern stream in the long range. It just kind of wraps it up around another upper low that drops down into Minnesota. So it has a whole different view. And you know what, Joe? I guess the best way to handle this is that given the blocky nature of everything, it's not out of the realm of possibility that any one of these models may have part of the answer correct. It might be a combination of all of the above. So as I said earlier, expect some emotional roller coasters for weather folks over the next 4 or 5 days as the models try to sort out this rather dynamic pattern that we have for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm that system next
We're
week,
back
next
full
Tuesday.
screen, by the way.
That system, I'm looking at my own screen here, and the Tuesday system, uh, it goes negative too late if you really are hoping for, at least I'm looking at the 12Z run here, for any kind of really significant action. There's always a chance it could slow down and be further back to the west in future runs, um, but still, I mean, like there's so much going on in the next 2 weeks. The upper air is really very very noisy, if you will. So we'll see how all these things pan out. Pretty
Right.
amazing. Pretty amazing. I'm just looking how to, it's one after another after another. Just we have one system dropping in and that lifts out, and then another one comes in. It's crazy.
It is.
And incidentally, when we were talking about that trough coming through, the upper trough coming through, let's say late Friday or Friday night, for that very reason, that's why I don't think we're going to see what some are alluding to as a flash freeze, because you look at the upper air, the system, the closed low actually is over the Ohio Valley. We're in a roaring southerly flow. The front is long since passed us Friday morning, but yet with that southerly flow, you really can't bring in that the much colder air until the whole upper system kind of wheels on by late Friday and Friday night. So it'll be chillier.
Agreed.
It'll be chillier on Friday as opposed to Thursday, but I don't see
It
temperatures
might have to
dropping
wait.
a
Yeah,
lot.
I agree. I don't. There's no changeover after the front goes by, and yeah, the cold air is probably going to have to wait for that upper trough to come on through, and maybe when that upper trough comes through, you might have a little, a squall line of some kind, maybe a snow squall line or a line of snow showers when it goes by. I
Maybe.
think that would be that's the best way to go at this point. So anyway, uh, I'm trying to think if there's anything I had to say or announce today, and I think the answer is no. Did you get all your Christmas shopping done?
I I I tried to get a couple of things today, and something is supposed to be delivered for the wife tomorrow. So we shall see if that
I will
indeed.
tell you this, by the way, as far as deliveries are concerned, I the mail right now is horrible. It's just absolutely horrible. My daughter sent me something about 10 days ago, priority mail. Um, has I haven't gotten it yet. Um, Someone sent me something from northern New Jersey in the mail. Should get here. No wor Sometimes it gets here the next day, but I'll give it 2 days. It's been almost 10 days, and I've been seeing stories popping up now about problems at post offices all over the place. They're so backed up and the snowstorm didn't help matters either, but they're so backed up that stuff is uh, taking weeks to get stuff delivered.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that for my mom, and they were supposed to be here by now, and now it looks like Um, I think what we did was we're going to have them delivered directly to her, but they're not going to get there until probably after the holiday. Maybe not until early January, the way things have been going. So, oh well.
Yeah, I want to bring up the snow map here for a second, Joe, because Marduk 427 just hit super chat. Thank you so much, and he says he lives in Somerville, Georgia, in Chattanooga County. Please tell me I'm going to get a white Christmas. Where is Chattanooga County? Because is that in North Georgia or it's in South Georgia? I'd be curious about that. But actually, I'm just going to pull up. I'll bring it up on the screen. This only takes us to 7 p.m. Why is this? Yeah, you know what? This is another problem too because the weather
Chattanooga,
service
Chattanooga County is in the northwest, um, almost
northwest
almost at the,
corner.
almost at the northwest corner, practically at
Well,
the north.
with this system Thursday night, I noticed that the models are trying to bring measurable snow down the Appalachians to as far south as the northeastern counties of Georgia.
Wait a minute,
I don't even know if it'll be enough to whiten the ground.
hold
Uh,
on for a second. Is it Chattanooga or Chattooga?
I'm sorry, it's Chattooga County. My
Okay,
mistake. I read that
all
too fast.
right, right, okay.
So it's Chattooga County.
It's Chattooga
Yeah.
County, yes.
See, I'm up more in Union County, which, by the way, was a dry county up until a couple of years ago.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, yeah. The only thing is, I tried to buy wine there on a Sunday, and I was chastised.
See, I know she's not on right now watching. She was watching on the chat board. One of the things I wanted to get my wife, or get for her every year, and for some reason this year, no wine or liquor store has it. She loves Manischewitz blackberry wine, and they only have the Concord grape this year. I went to about five different
Oh,
liquor
who
stores,
cares as long as it burns, for God's sake.
could not find it
As
anywhere.
long as it's effective, let's put it that way.
And, and she always tells me, she says, "Oh, don't get that. I'm never." But then there's some nights I walk in and she's got
Oh,
some hot.
Charles,
Yeah,
Charles.
she likes to have, as the Germans would say, she likes to have a schluck.
Oh, everything is so green.
Yeah. Well, she says
I
that.
mean, I have my bottle of Merlot upstairs. That I have a glass most nights. Not every night, but most nights I have a glass of wine to kind of wind down for the end of the day. So
It's hard to get her something because her birthday is only 2 days after Christmas, so she's got a birthday coming up on Sunday.
oh, that's yeah.
And,
That's
and
not fun. Well, my grandson's gonna has a birthday coming up too, which you just reminded me. So I got them a nice Christmas present. I got one of those electric bubble machines. My daughter said I need something that can occupy them for hours. So an electric bubble machine should do it.
I really miss one of the things I miss not being at News 12 every year for many years, because she wasn't near a Hess station. My news director, Janine Rose, always used to give me an envelope, and she said, "Get 10 Hess trucks for my nieces and nephews." And I'm talking about my they were still in their 20s, but they were I was the supplier. And in fact, one year I drove all the way up to Poughkeepsie because all the Hess stations were out, and I found one up in Poughkeepsie that had a few trucks left, and I put all up there just to grab onto those and bring them back. So I kind of miss not doing that anymore during the Christmas holidays. I was her supplier, her Hess truck supplier.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of them in their original boxes in here. The kids are going to get them when they get old enough to not play with them, but keep them as
Right.
collector's items.
Of course, you can't get them now. To get Hess stations don't exist anymore. Now you have to get them online or buy them.
Right, right.
In which case,
Take
it wouldn't matter because the mail is so lousy. We probably won't get them until after the middle of
Yeah,
January.
the way things are going. All right, let's wrap it up and say good night. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. David Fuller, William Huber, Chuck Cardillo and Marduk427 hitting super chat tonight. Joe and I thank you very much. That's more Manischewitz wine. Right? Was that the brand?
Manischewitz
Right. The
blackberry.
blackberry wine.
Right.
So yeah, thanks very much for hitting super chat. 144 likes tonight. Thank you so much for hitting the like button. Joe and I appreciate it. Now we'll be back tomorrow night with the Joe and Joe Weather Show. The plan of attack right now is we're not going to do a show on Thursday, even though this storm is coming through. But no show on Thursday. It's Christmas and
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, maybe Friday night. If we have enough of a food hangover that we feel up to it, we'll do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
You know what tomorrow is, right?
Tomorrow is the 23rd.
It's Festivus tomorrow.
Yes, it's Festivus. Yes, I hear you.
It's the Festivus for the
The
rest of
rest of
us,
us.
Joe.
Yes, exactly. For the Seinfeld
Yes,
fans.
yes,
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
yes, sir. Night.